Shalom, shalom, brothers and sisters. I am so pleased to be here today. Thank God for giving me another day on this earth, and I am ready for you. We're going to have a great discussion today. We have a couple of guests that will be joining us. Uh, I want to welcome you to the Black News Network, the real voice of Black people, Black USA. That's what we are, and that's how we roll. This is from the desk of the emissary. I'm your host, Brother War Smith Bay. We're broadcasting live from a Black point of view. We don't own the rights to the music, but we do own the rights to what we say. Now, today's topic is about erased like a blackboard. And many people might not know what a blackboard is. It's something that we had back in the day that the teachers used to write on, and you can erase it with the white chalk, but they changed to green and then they changed to the whiteboards. But we started out with blackboards about it, just to let you know for y'all young folks that may not know that. Um, Dred Scott decision put us in a situation. And I'm going to bring my guest in before we dive into this conversation. But I just want you to know we got to figure out a way to not be erased. I mean, they've done so many things to erase us. First of all, I want to welcome a good friend of mine, Mr. Chuck Slaughter, who has been a civil rights activist for an extremely long time. And he's my brother in crime today. So thank you for being here, Mr. Chuck.
You're welcome. Thank you. Welcome. Thank you for having me here.
The next brother I want to bring in is another good friend of mine, Mr. Claude Foster. How you doing, Mr. Claude?
Hey, brothers.
I ain't seen the fifth sign in a minute.
It's still there.
Doing that, right?
Yeah.
All right, guys. You see my topic, erased like a blackboard, which I thought that was a fitting topic for our people because every single turn where we make strides, it seems as though we take strides back. And I think that the overall process right now is to erase us, to get rid of everything about our legacy. First of all, they started when they they made Kunta Kinte give up his family name. That means they were erasing his history to me. So he was done once he gave it up and became Toby. And that is what I mean by erasing our history. They beat that boy until he gave up his ancestry. And even today, we go through some of the same situations where they put us in these precarious situations to make us comply to something that they like doing. And we end up doing it and losing ourselves in it. How many times have you tried to talk different, look different, act different when you're in the presence of white folks? How many times have that been a thought that you've had when you're in the presence of white folks? Now, Chuck, don't even try to tell me you ain't never done that.
No, I haven't. No, I haven't.
Okay.
I'm me.
You're,
I don't act no special way. I don't try to impress no white folks.
So what?
I don't try to impress them. No, sir. That ain't me. I'm sorry. I'm not your typical black person.
Okay, Mr. Activist. What about you, Claude? What you think about us the way we do? It may not have been you, but you've seen some people code switch.
Yeah, I saw my parents. I saw my dad code switch. I grew up in Alabama. We're in the same grouping as Reggie Jackson. Y'all heard what Reggie Jackson said.
Yeah,
So,
man, that was a touching speech he gave.
Wasn't that powerful? The past ain't past, brother. If we still alive, the white folks that perpetrated that crime is still alive too, or their offsprings are still alive.
Yeah.
So the past ain't that past. But yeah, I saw my daddy the way he talked around white folks, if you will. I basically, just like I'm sure all three of you, we grew up in a black space. So in terms of any kind of daily contact with white folks, it was not that much until you went downtown shopping or until you went to the movie theater. We had to sit upstairs with the white folks sitting downstairs. Yeah, I went through that. The Wilby Theater right there in Selma, still open today. We had to sit upstairs.
That's pretty sad, man. Everything about what we've encountered here in the U.S. has been a questionable thing. I want to read you something from the Supreme Court decision on March 6, 1857, which they ruled on this decision 7-2. Um, that a let's see that a slave who resides in a free state where slavery was prohibited, African Americans were not and could never be citizens of the United States. That's from the Supreme Court decision. Now that's why I was asking you earlier which one trumps what. If the Supreme Court can make rulings on the Constitution, then this still stands. They didn't make a ruling over this. That's something else. And then it says when a man has emerged from slavery, there must be some stage in the progress of his elevation when he takes the rank of a mere citizen and ceases to be the special favorite of the law.
Well,
Uh,
that's an oxymoron. When white folks have been,
mhm. They make it sound like we are the villains. In 1883, the Supreme Court struck down the 1875 Act, ruling that the 14th Amendment did not give Congress authority to prevent discrimination committed by a private individual. Now, this is a kicker. In other words, the Supreme Court said that the state, although they wrote the 14th Amendment, the states have the responsibility to enforce it or make new rules to comply by for the white people. But as you know, and I know, what they allowed the white people to do was to beat the shit out of us and our ancestors until it just didn't make no damn sense. I mean, they allowed them to do that. And the states had the right to stop it, but the states didn't stop it. So we look to the federal government to stop it. And then they say they don't have the power to do it. Ain't that something? How can the states How can they expect the state to do the right thing when they put them damn Confederate generals back in charge of the southern states? They going right back to slavery. They going right back to their redneck ass ways and making black people subservient and second class citizens. I mean, they could basically they're telling us that they can commit any kind of crime to a black person, which they consider second class, and nobody can do anything about it. The state ain't gonna say shit, and you know damn well the federal government ain't gonna say shit. They're gonna pass it right back down to the state. So we had nowhere to go. We were subjected to whatever punishment that they decided to give us, which was a sorry damn way for us to live. Victims of racial discrimination were told to seek relief not from the federal government, but from the states. And at the same time, state governments were passing legislation that codified inequality between the races. That separate but equal shit was just that, separate but equal shit. It was not like that. I remember looking at the school books that we used to get when separate but equal was prevalent. The school books that we received had 4 or 5 different names in it, the white folks' name in them. We got all the books from the white school, and they're the ones who got all the new books. And we thought they were new because they were new to us, and we were happy to get a damn book. Everybody didn't have one, so we were even still discriminated against. I mean, when that's I just it's sad. But you guys, if you got to comment on what I'm talking about, help yourself. But I can go on.
Well, I think you're. I mean, you're right in what you say, but that's what's in this book, the Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the fact that the states can do what they did
Mm-hmm.
is because it's the United States of America, but it's a federation of states
Mm-hmm.
pulled together to form the Union. And in the Constitution, it says that that all rights are reserved to the states except those laws that have a federal context. You know, in terms of, but everything else is reserved to the states, like commerce. Like Mississippi can't charge me from Alabama $10 to drive into Mississippi. Ain't no gate on Interstate 20 that says I got to pay to come in Mississippi because that's regulated by the federal government. So the Constitution is what put those generals back in power.
So why didn't they protect us?
Protect us
Your
how?
opinion. Huh?
Protect us how?
We protect us from the racial bigotry that we suffered from in the South.
Well, they did for a while.
How?
As long
How
as
did
the,
they
as
never
long
protect us?
no, as long as the troops were in the South, they did.
As long as what? Oh, as long as the troops were there. Yeah, you're right. As long as the troops were there, they did. But those Union troops were just as racist as the Confederate troops, and you were not going to get a white man to go against another white man for beating up a black man. And then they said you can beat a black man as long as you were trying to teach him something. And if he died in the process, then oh well, we are not going to prosecute you because you were trying to educate him. So you could beat a black person to death and tell the cop, hey, yeah, I overextended because I was trying to teach him a lesson, and he died.
I mean, there's a lot of atrocities. I hear what you're saying. I guess my response would be, this nation never has and never will place African Americans to that level of priority in terms of our humanity, as long as we reside in this country. I just don't think that our humanity, our black skin, our humanity will ever be evaluated on that level.
You saying we second class citizens for life?
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that. I'll give you a good example. We talked about the 15th Amendment last week, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about the 15th Amendment giving us citizenship, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the 15th Amendment also was the basis of affirmative action that we didn't benefit from, everybody but us. The 15th Amendment
gave us the right to vote.
Right. The 15th Amendment also basically desegregated this country. Mm-hmm. But desegregation law don't make you equal. Mm-hmm. Under the, it makes you equal under the law, but who's got to enforce the law? Man. 15th Amendment. The 15th Amendment gave us voting rights, but they expanded voting rights. I mean, the reason why Hispanics are such a powerful voting bloc now is because they're covered under the 15th Amendment for their language, not their race, for their fucking language.
Mm-hmm. So what
the 15th Amendment, let me go on. The 15th Amendment allowed the Supreme Court to render the decision about abortion. That don't have nothing to do with black folks, necessarily. Mm-hmm. The 15th Amendment made the law treat women as equals, as if women wasn't already treated equally. What I'm saying, the 15th Amendment wasn't just about us.
Mm-hmm.
No law that's ever been passed. I would argue that Juneteenth ain't even about us. Juneteenth is a commercial holiday.
Mm-hmm.
Where Negroes go out and buy flags and coffee cups and mugs and T-shirts and all that bullshit. It ain't about us and our freedom.
Day,
it's a commerce day, so you can spend more money.
Just another one of those days. Yeah.
So I guess what I'm saying is, under that Constitution, under the United States Constitution, our black skin has never had 100% value,
Hmm.
and I don't think it ever will.
Hmm.
Not under that Constitution as written.
Well,
I
that's
think because because if you look at the history of the Constitution, yeah, I'll give you a good example of what I'm talking about. Joe Biden, right? Last in his law school class, barely graduated law school, gonna comment about how qualified President Obama was, and Obama was a Rhodes Scholar, wrote the Harvard Law Review, first in his class, but that white man who is unequal when it comes to qualifications next to that black man can pass judgment and write a narrative about what kind of person that person is.
and that's
That
what
that in essence is America.
and yeah, that's what people will blow up. It
That's
does
that's
not it does not invest Congress with power to legislate upon subjects which are within the domain of state legislation. So Congress ain't gonna say shit if it's in the domain of state.
right.
The wrongful act of an individual, unsupported by any such authority, is simply a private wrong or a crime of that individual.
Why do you think we have state courts and all this kind of stuff? I mean, this whole system in America, the Constitution in and of itself, devalues us.
Yeah, I mean, just like I was writing something down about
How
why,
you?
like we got erased.
Let me ask you a question. How
Mhm.
is a document that enslaved us is the same document we're gonna use
That's
to
free.
make to free us
It's
and
impossible.
to give us equality? You would think that we had to write a new document, right?
Yeah,
All we've done is just amend a few pages here and there.
and the worst part about it, it's been the and excuse me for going here. It's been the white man all along. He wrote the Constitution, the white man, and he wrote the Emancipation Proclamation, the white man. And they all we ain't had no participation in shit. Wait, what did
He
we
wrote
write?
he wrote
We
the
wrote
15th.
shit for ourselves.
He wrote the 13th Amendment. He
Huh?
wrote the 14th. The white man wrote the 13th Amendment. The white man wrote the 14th Amendment. The white man wrote the 15th Amendment.
And did you notice how careful they were not to use certain terms? They
Right.
said slave. Now, at what point in time was our race or our nationality slave? I mean, that's just like being called the other ones, you know, like colored, Negro, black, African American, slave. None of those are how can I just don't get it, man. How can that be a part of us when none of those fit us? None of those names fit us. If one of those names fit us, we wouldn't be changing every 10 years. We change names like damn somebody changed draws. We got it, we changing too many names.
Well, should we have stayed? I mean, what should we be called, brother?
Hmm. That's
And
what I was
now
thinking.
you have it, Chuck.
That's what I
Go
was.
ahead, Chuck.
Huh?
Go ahead.
Yeah, we got to stop confusing our people. We are somebody,
Hmm.
you know, and you know if it ain't no more than this, we're God's children. You know, our
What you,
birthrights.
Chuck,
I
what,
mean, we
we
what,
got
are somebody. Now we can't mess with that Constitution like these people tell us who we ain't nobody, we ain't this, we ain't that.
you got to be somebody, Chuck.
well now I'm gonna tell y'all brothers this. We are Brian Stephen. I don't know whether you have been to the Equal Justice Institute down there in Montgomery. They on Juneteenth,
Yeah.
the Equal Justice Institute. You know they got all the people that were hung. They got a monument.
Oh
to
yeah,
them.
yeah, with
Yeah.
all the jars with the dirt
With,
in
with,
it.
Right.
Yeah,
They just opened up the a new exhibit. It's the 1870 exhibit, and it's got all the names of all the black folks in 1870 that were freed, that were counted in the census of 1870, not that were freed. And, and all them black folks kept their white names, the white last names. And they did that for to keep the family cohesion, because everybody on that plantation, like your last name is Smith.
Mhm.
So if they didn't call themselves Smiths, how was they gonna keep that black family cohesion at that location? So every African American that was counted in 1870 is on that exhibit. Is 8 feet tall. So to answer Chuck's question, we are a new people. We are a new people. We are a new people. And anytime you have a new people with no basic foundation, like an Irish person is always going to be an Irish person. But we stopped being a slave. We stopped being
in 1865.
in 1865. And so we're this new people, and we constantly looking for a new identity.
I got it now.
And
Can I give you my answer?
what's your answer?
Yes, you said, you hit the nail on the head when you said that when we come off the plantation, we came off there with our masters, the slave owners.
Because that's the only thing that we had to connect us.
Yeah. So now we know what plantation you came from. You come up, you skip forward another 100 years. It's time for us to reconnect.
To what?
From whence? Well, you heard the thing where from whence we were divested. I
But
mean,
how but what are we going to reconnect to, brother?
I'm fixing it. Let me get to it there, Mr. Claw.
Okay, brother.
We were divested of something of when we were taken from Africa. Now, they just found a shoe print in Utah that they say is 500 million years old. Now, but yet they try to tell you that the world is like the people are only 5,000 or so years old. There's no way man can be that precise on what where human or where life for men started. So all I'm saying is we were here when the earth decided to separate the continents. And when the land moved, the people moved. So President Lincoln said there were 10 million dark people on the other side. What is the name? Appalachian Mountains? Whatever those mountains are on the other side of the mountains. And when we move westward, we got to get rid of them so they can get the land.
But brother,
I see you ready to say something. Go ahead.
yeah, with all due respect, brother, I respect everything you're saying, but we're talking about America, which is a unique new place.
Of course. That's
And okay, all right,
you got to let me get to it.
okay,
I mean, it takes a few points to understand for me to tell you what I'm about to tell you. And I'm going to tell you that your name is Clark Foster, right? For you to
right,
reconnect to your ancestors, you wouldn't go and change your name to Muhammad Ali. I'm just using that one as an example.
right.
What you would do, and you would never ever lose your Claude Foster name because that ties you to the plantation that you were on.
And
So
to the
you will
other,
always
yeah,
be Foster
right.
unless you decide you don't want to be Foster. You will always be Foster. But in order for you to reconnect, you got to go back to your family. Now, you are a descendant of the Canaanites, the Moabites. And if you are not, if you don't realize the importance of your being here in America, then you're ignoring what faith has laid out for you. In order for you to, it's very easy for you to reconnect. All you have to do is realize that you had ancestors back there, just like the Chinese. They they relate to their ancestors back in the 600s. They don't cut their ties no matter where they were. I mean, we're the only one. They're trying to make us cut our ties with our ancestors, and that's wrong. And if we ever cut our ties with our ancestors, we are doomed people.
You
That's
got a point. You got a point right there. I just wanted to intervene because that's important. You know, breaking those ties, because even right today, our young people, especially in our culture,
they're broken.
every time it's our time. We got to do it our way instead of coming up and attaching, keeping the dots connected, and keeping it going forward. Like I told this little young man that we had this big argument when he accused us old folks of standing in the way, and wanted me to look at the mess that we left behind for them to clean up. I said, no, sir, I think I disagree with you on that, because you got to join the fight and keep the fight going, forward. If you get right here to where you are and you stop, then that's on you. But you keep, we our traditions are always broken and they're restarted.
Yep.
And that's why we can't move forward. And that's why this is a town hall meeting we come up, and in that family values and tradition, it ought to be an important panel, because maybe we can reestablish some of those values and traditions and start practicing them.
See, they trying to tell us we didn't have a history till the end of the Civil War, but we had a history hundreds and hundreds of years before that. So what I was saying about Claude Foster's name, you don't change that name, but what you do is you annex that name. And the Canaanites and the Moabites were either named Bay or El. And once you connect Bay or El to your name, not only do you reconnect with your ancestors, but you also signify for the world, not just for the USA, that you are part of a nation. Right now, you cannot prove that you're part of a nation with your name. You can't. But a Chinese can, like a Mexican can, a Japanese can, a German can, but we can't, because we are not trying to authenticate ourselves. We have to authenticate sooner or later, because if we don't, we're doomed. We got an ancestry. We've got history before the Civil War. All we have to do is reconnect, and it's so easy. People don't want to do it. They don't want to spend the time to look back and see who their ancestors were. That damn that stuff I'm talking about, where you put your blood sample or the swab in your mouth and they tell you where you got 10% of this, 20% of that, 40% of here. That's some bullshit. You can send some dog DNA in there and they'll tell you that. That ain't where it's at. We know that we got people. We know that we came from people. We didn't just get born over here they grew us from like a corn stalk. I mean, we came from somewhere. So we have to remember that, because our bodies have those genes and those troubles and those spirits in our soul. You cannot relinquish that and think you can move forward, because every step you take is going to get harder by the day, because you are not connected. You don't have that force behind you, that ancestry behind you, those people behind you that gives you credibility, not only in the United States, but in the world. You can't go to another country and say, yeah, I'm an African American, but you can go over there and say, I'm Claude Foster Bay, because that connects you. That Bay does, not Foster. Foster is just here. When you connect that suffix name to you, the two names that our people have, then you're where you're supposed to be. You are connecting yourself back with your ancestors. Amen. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Clyde. I ain't
I
never seen you this quiet. What's wrong with you?
think his screen is frozen.
Huh? He
I think his
froze.
screen is frozen.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
damage.
well,
Go ahead.
I feel you on that, my friend. I can understand that it's very powerful, and it's the process you just went through. How old are you now?
65.
65. You went through it at 65. You might be able to. Now, you ain't going to produce any more children
How
that
you
you
know?
can. Huh? Go ahead. Try. But you're not going to pass any more children that you can pass that name down to.
Right,
You see, without them going through the process that you had to go through with.
right.
So, what has to happen? That's good information. And I think a lot of our young people, intelligent young people, need to be considering doing that, and then their offspring would automatically have it.
Be part of it. Yep.
Yeah, and I agree with it. I think the concept is nice, but it's something that we need to be preaching to our young people and
I
telling
agree.
them this is
Agreed,
how.
Chuck.
Because I still believe that you said syndicating that birth certificate and social security card, however that was supposed to happen,
Say that
would be
again.
would
Okay, the authentication of the birth certificate.
yeah. Now I'm still concerned about that because if Clark can talk to you about this here prison industrial system that we have here
Mm.
that uses these prisoners, our loved ones that's in prison, as a means for
Hey,
trading
Claude,
in the
if you
stock
got a,
market.
give me a second. If you got a lot of programs open, it'll pull down your bandwidth and it'll make you buffer like that. You have to close almost everything. Go ahead, Chuck. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Um, well, but anyway, I was on the roll there. But anyway, got to regroup now.
Mm.
What was I talking about?
You
um,
talking
but
about
anyway, yeah, young people,
the
and
young people?
the stock market for the prisons, industrial system. They're using those prisoners in there as a means for making money off of them, getting
Hmm.
rich.
Yeah.
And the hip hop people they beginning to feel it and they begin to expose it.
Hmm.
They're using hip hop
Hmm. One thing
to continuously to keep
that
control
people know about.
of our young people. But now they come smart and they say, "Hey, we pushing our people further into the burning house." So I think if we take that code that they use wherever it's at, whether it's on the social security number or whatever, if we find a way to take that code off so it won't be so profitable for them to keep them in a rehabilitated facility for 30, 40 years making money off of them. Because it was taxpayers had to pay for them being in that facility, I bet you they wouldn't be there that long
Hmm.
being taken care of.
You know,
They
like the
making money
prison
off from the
system.
stock market.
How else do you erase a population of people when other than you stop them from reproducing? So, in my opinion, Chuck, I believe what you're saying. They take our black men and incarcerate them at a probably the highest rate in the world. Our people go to jail, black people,
Mm-hmm.
but mostly men. So, what does a man do in a society? For
Careless.
one, he stabilized the family. For two, he stabilized the household. For three, he what you call it when you reproducing children?
Yeah,
You
he carried the seed. You kill
yeah,
the
you're
man, you kill the
reproducing.
seed. He can't produce anymore.
You're
And
building your community.
for every young black man that gets murdered or killed before he produces a child is a generation lost.
Hmm.
It's a generation gone.
Hmm. I
So
mean, we go ahead, Chuck.
So I mean, that's why we got to wake up and start paying attention to our young black males.
Because we lose so many black young boys to gun violence, and
Mm-hmm.
we lose so many black older men to the prison system.
Mm-hmm.
So who's left to reappropriate? We don't have that. We don't have the reappropriation in our communities that we used to have. We don't have the men leading these families. That's why you see the amount of what they call them, transgender, when the boys turn into women,
Yeah.
huh?
Yeah.
Well, that's why we have so much of that right now, because the men are not in the households. Men are in prison. The men are in prison, and in prison, I ain't gonna say everybody go in prison come out gay, but a lot of the prisoners do come out gay, and that's their choice. But if they hadn't have went to prison, they would probably have a family with children and study producing children.
Hey, brother Bay, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Since Moors are such a complex people. I mean, because there's all different types of Moors.
yeah.
So and since it's such a complex people, in the construct of America, in terms of the education system, the judicial system, the political system, how do you inject that history or that connection into that framework?
There's two things that I can tell you about that. One is that the Vatican came after the Moors to the United States of America. The Vatican used the exact same process that Noble Drew Ali used to set up his church to start this movement. How do you distinguish? It's a nation. The Moors are a nation within a nation.
But there are different Moorish people around the world. So how do you?
Yeah,
What nation are you talking
we're
about?
part of Morocco. We
Well,
are
but
we
there are
are
other. But there are
Moroccan.
other. Okay,
Huh?
Moroccan.
We're
Okay, but
Moroccan citizens. Most of it, I'd say 8 out of 10 Moors groups in America are Moroccan citizens. They hold dual citizenship.
you would admit that there are different Moors.
Absolutely. There's white Moors, there's black Moors, there's Mexican Moors, there's Chinese
So
Moors.
how does that?
Hey,
So
whoa.
that complexity. How do you interpose that complexity into the complexity that we're already dealing with within the construct of living in America?
One person at a time. You cannot
I hear you.
change the flow that we have set and that they have set. We can't change it.
The reason why I tell you, when I was in North Carolina, my brother neighbor was a lieutenant colonel in the army, and we
Mm.
asked him why did he celebrate Christmas. I mean, why was he celebrate that type of holiday? He said
Mm.
it's tradition. It's tradition. That's some Chuck brought up. I mean, so
Tradition.
tradition. I
What's
But
the
mean,
wait,
tradition?
I got an issue here, and I don't before I forget it. Okay, what I was understanding, my understanding was that the first people to walk the face of the earth were black people, and they were Moors. Now you tell me we got white Moors?
yeah, you got in different parts of of the world. You got different Moorish sects,
Mhm.
uh,
Not all Moors
race.
are Moroccan citizens,
Right.
but the ones
Well,
here in this country are. Now, it
because
goes
because
way back to the
Morocco,
Moors in the Spanish War in the 14th century, and even in this country, the Moors had set up colonies here in America, and the Spanish came in the 14th century and beat them in war, and they took over the colonies. Now, you could find this. I was reading this book called Indian Giver, and that's exactly what it talks about, how
I see
Spanish
that.
came in and defeated the Moors in this continent right here. They were here in the 14th century before 1492.
But
So
but they were Moroccan Moors from Africa.
yeah, well, yeah, they were Moroccan Moors from where? From Africa. Yeah.
Morocco is Africa.
Then I'm going to tell you how they became Moroccan Moors from Africa. When you look at the picture of Pangea, you'll see the United States, how it covers Morocco, and you'll see how South America covers Sierra Leone and other colonies. But from one end of this continent to the other, black people exist in the millions.
But doesn't that complicate? Chuck asked a very real. If there are different nationality of Moors, how is that any different than what we're dealing with here in America?
Absolutely.
There there ain't no slick hand signs. There ain't no cults. The difference is the difference is you
What you
belong to
say?
a nation.
Ain't no Supreme Court.
The difference is you belong to a nation. And when you belong to a nation, you have not only recognition in this country, you have recognition in the world. But see, right now, our status in the world is non existent.
So you're saying Black Americans have no status in the world?
Yeah, that's hard. That's hard for me to swallow. I can't. We,
Go
we
over
don't have it. It's because we ain't asked for it or we out there and work to have it.
Now,
You got to realize.
I understand what he's saying. I mean, and using his analysis, what he's saying is probably true. We don't have no, we
we don't
as
have world recognition.
right, we as
That's
black
why the
people.
world court would not defend us under any circumstances.
Did the court come to our aid? Well, all that shit was created after slavery, though.
Yeah.
Would they have? Would they have come to our?
They don't recognize us. We left off, listen, we walked off the plantation. Now, how do you expect us to become from a slave to a citizen to a nationality? You can't just do that by walking off. You can't. You
No,
have
we had
to.
we had a piece of paper in our hands that we free.
Well,
We had that piece
I
of
was thinking a
paper.
few minutes ago. I was thinking a few minutes ago that we keep connecting ourselves to our ancestors. Okay, and our ancestors came over here against their will. They were brought over here against their wills. We was over. We became. We got here as a result of them being coming over here and made slaves. Okay, but after 1865, when the Emancipation was in 1865, after it was signed and you became a free man, okay, all right. Now, your children that you birthed are birthed on this soil, according to the Constitution,
Mhm.
makes you an American citizen under this nation.
Yes, sir. That's what we want to believe, right? That's what we want
So,
to believe.
if that's not true, then how is anybody that's born on this soil a member of this nation?
Well, well, brother Bay, let me ask you a question. Were
Let
slaves
me
that
answer,
brought him?
can I answer Chuck's
Well, let
question
me add
first?
this because this goes
Let me
along
answer.
with Chuck's question, so you can answer it at the same time. Were the slaves that brought here that came from Africa were they Moors? The
Yes,
ones that were brought him from Africa. Okay.
yes, they were. And it's indicated in that movie Roots, but I don't know where because I hadn't looked into being a Moor before that when Roots came out 30 years ago. Now, Chuck says if you're born in this country, you're an automatic citizen. And that's exactly what the 14th Amendment says, that you are a citizen. But if you notice how careful the 14th Amendment is not to say Negro, not to say colored, but to say slave. Who, how can you be identified as a slave off the plantation? You are not a slave when you walk off that plantation. You're a slave on the plantation. So you have nothing to say who you are. But the
After
Constitution,
400 years, they were they probably just as confused as we were. Who are we now? We no longer
absolutely,
slaves.
the whole
We no
country's
longer
confused.
own. We no longer property.
You no
You know,
longer you're still chattel property, by the way, until you authenticate yourself.
And how do
When
you
you
do
walked
that?
off the plantation, you were no longer a so-called slave, but you still were chattel property. That means you are still put in the pen just like you would do a bunch of wild horses and keep
penitentiary.
there and feed you when they want to. That's what you were, that's what we are after slavery, chattel property.
But
So
did we?
stop being chattel property. You authenticate your birth certificate, which takes you, you do it to the state level first, which takes you off of the state's records, saying we no longer need you as a state to represent us. So I represent myself.
But brother
And
Bay,
the
I thought
document
the
from the state,
I
huh?
thought I thought the 15th Amendment remade the Constitution.
I didn't see that in there. I
No,
haven't. I
what I'm
haven't.
saying, because because we were excluded in the original Constitution, right? The
Yeah.
15th Amendment gave us citizenship. So didn't that remake the
No, the
Constitution?
14th Amendment
I
gave
mean,
you.
I mean 14th Amendment. Didn't that remake the Constitution?
No, the 14th
Because
Amendment
the
said
Constitution did.
slaves, if you were a slave and you were free, and you're a descendant of a slave, you are a citizen. Who are slaves? How can you
But
be
didn't
a
that?
slave when you
But doesn't
walk
the
on the
but
plantation?
doesn't the Constitution define citizenship?
Does it define in what way?
Doesn't it say who's a citizen?
Yeah, it's telling you who's a citizen. If
Okay,
you were
didn't it?
born or
Did,
naturalized in America,
so
have you
didn't it?
born
So
here,
didn't
but
it?
you
Okay,
naturalized?
so didn't it excluded us, right? Because it said that we were
They're
three
not talking
fifths.
about us. They call us slaves. How
Right.
can you be a
Okay.
slave when you ain't on the plantation?
But didn't the 14th Amendment remake that?
No, that ain't never
It's like an amendment to the Constitution.
that ain't
It's like
never
a.
been changed on the 14th Amendment. And that's why when we go to this decision like the Dred Scott decision,
But that was
when the
before the
Supreme
14th
Court
Amendment.
says that an African American can never be a citizen,
But that was before the 14th
you
Amendment,
cannot
though.
dispute that.
But that was
They
before
told
the
him.
14th. But that was before the 14th Amendment.
Yes, it was almost 100 years.
That was before the Civil War.
Almost 100 years
Okay,
before the
so
14th Amendment was written.
so the 14th Amendment fixed the Constitution and made us.
It did not overrule. It did not overrule a Supreme Court decision. Just because you wrote an amendment, but that amendment doesn't change the Supreme Court ruling.
No, we had a war.
Yeah, we did. So what? We had a war. It doesn't change a thing. When they tell you uh, that a slave who resides in a free state where slavery was prohibited, African Americans were not and could never be citizens of the United
But that
States.
was before the 14th Amendment.
Yeah, it was. But
Okay,
well, all I'm saying is you can't change the Supreme Court decision just because you wrote an amendment.
no, but the
You,
Constitution
you said in
is
the
the only.
beginning of that conversation, who trumps who,
Yeah, but
right?
the Constitution trumps all the Supreme Court does is interpret the Constitution. Taney interpreted it wrong based
Then
on his.
how can they overturn Roe versus Wade?
Right. In affirmative action.
They and affirmative action.
And
So
they
the
get ready to do
Supreme
a whole
Court
bunch of other stuff.
overrules the Constitution. And when they
Why
go,
did
they got to go back and reverse
Why
this
did they overturn
in
the
order for it
bump
Because-
not.
stock law that
because-
just went into effect?
Because there is no constitutional right to an abortion. That was no. We've never amended the Constitution to allow for abortion. That's how they did. That's how they
Is
did
there a
it.
constitutional?
Men
Is
set
there
up
a
in
But
a
there's
woman.
the 14th Amendment is a constitutional amendment.
Mm-hmm.
There was no constitutional amendment for abortion or any of that stuff that the court overruled. That's why. Now that's one area where Chuck and I can agree. Politics plays a role into who's on the court.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, the people that are against abortion, they got the right number of people on the court, and they
got
overturn
them all
abortion.
overturned.
But because it's not there's no constitutional right to an abortion. It's not in the Constitution. That's why the Supreme Court can mess around with that legislation.
I don't want to.
There was no constitutional right. Look at the 14th Amendment. I mean, look at the 13th Amendment, right to vote. But the Supreme Court can nipple away at all the systems that were put in place to guarantee the right, like Section 5 and all that kind of stuff. They got rid of all that because there's no constitutional amendment that addresses that. The amendment says you got a right. The amendment says you got a right to vote. The 13th Amendment doesn't say that you got a right to designate certain states to go after certain states because they got a history of voting, and that's what they overturned. And they will keep nipping at it. And my argument, the reason why I agree with you, Brother Babe, and I agree with you, Chuck, this is a white man's country. They're never gonna enshrine in that Constitution anything that's gonna give us any kind of real redress. That doesn't have the effect of benefiting something else. I just told you the 14th Amendment is the precursor to all the other rights that everybody else have but us. So I agree with Brother Bay. This country has never done anything for us.
Okay, so when they get ready to rewrite the Constitution, they talked about it today again. They spoke about it today. So we got 2/3 of the states ready. They get ready to rewrite the Constitution. What role are we going to play? Where's our fathers? What role are we going to play in the rewriting of the Constitution to make sure that the thing...
If you're not in an elected position, you're not going to play a single role in rewriting the Constitution. You have to be an elected official.
But the voters, the voters, don't the voters have to state? The states have to, it's a state vote and not the voters that's voting on it?
The Constitution, that's federal. But the states,
they have to have 2/3 of the states to approve the Constitution.
Yeah.
That means the citizens in 2/3 of all the states in the country has to vote to rewrite the Constitution.
No, to ratify whatever's already
ratified. Okay, to pass it.
The people in office when the amendment come out are the ones who either ratify or don't ratify the amendment. If you're not in office at the time they issue it, then it don't count. Then you ain't got no vote. You don't have a vote when they have a shot, unless you're in office, unless you're in a political position. Mm-hmm.
So it's Congress and the Senate that will have.
Let's stay focused on us, how we evolved from the plantation. I mean, what is there out there that tells you who you are? That's all. If you can answer that, I can set my case. But you can't answer that. There's nothing out here to tell you who you are, other than what I'm telling you that you could do to tell you who you are.
You mean tell us who our origins are, or tell us who we are in the construct of America?
Yeah, who in America? Who are you here?
Well, you're Warren Smith. I'm Claude Foster. That's Chuck Slaughter.
But who are you? Or what are you part of anything? You say you're an American citizen, but you're not.
I'm a new person.
You're part of the new people. But what makes you new people?
Well, when you're new, I mean,
you can't be new. You got cells in you that are millions of years old.
I propose that we give ourselves an identity name.
Huh?
I propose that we give ourselves an identity.
But we already got one. We are Moors.
I'm not.
Yeah, you are.
Now let's not go through the process and take all those classes and stuff to become one.
You still
Can
have
I just go out there right now and say I'm Chuck Slaughter Bay?
You have to do something. When Abraham Lincoln wrote the Emancipation Proclamation and put it out there, he said you have 50 years to do something to correct your nationality. Everybody, he had to have over 200,000 people take the oath of amnesty after the Civil War. Over 200,000 people from the southern states had to take it. Why didn't any of the slaves have to take it? Like I was saying a few minutes ago, Chuck, when you walked out, you can't go from slave to citizen, and then when you walk off the plantation,
Okay.
you are no longer a slave.
Okay. So before you said it was the Moors that was brought over here and turned into slaves.
Yes, they were part. Yeah, it's in the
Well,
movie
well,
Roots.
well,
I'm
brother
gonna
Bay,
go back and find it.
how
So
come you couldn't walk off the plantation? Most of the slaves were born here.
Hmm.
So once the 14th Amendment was
And
ratified and you walked off the plantation,
yeah,
you were a citizen of this country.
you cannot be a citizen without. If you walking off the plant, I'm talking about our ancestors now. They never corrected the
Okay.
process. And if they have never corrected what they supposed to correct, can you imagine how damaged our chain is right now? You
oh
have to
yeah.
correct something before you can send it forward. You
Yeah.
can't just keep adding stuff on top of stuff when you never took a moment to correct your status. That's what you got to do.
So what could this country do to correct that?
The country ain't gonna do shit.
So
Well, what if they
actually,
They
could?
don't give
What
a
if they
so
damn
could?
about what we do to correct it because they know we ain't gonna do it.
so tell me this: if my ancestors was Bay, so if I decided to carry my say Chuck Slaughter Bay, what would happen to me?
You change from being a person with
No, no,
no
I'm
name.
talking about without going through the process of being able to. If I just change
You have. I'm gonna
and
tell
start
you,
calling my name Chuck Slaughter Bay.
you don't have to do that. You don't have to go through the process, but you still have to do one thing that you haven't done, and that is take the oath of amnesty. Anybody that because nobody in your ancestry has taken the oath of amnesty.
What
Because of that,
what, what does that
that
mean?
makes you illegitimate.
What
You're
does
Yeah.
an
that,
illegitimate child out here, and
brother
there's a
Bay?
certain thing called
What
a citizen and a true citizen,
what does
and you're not a true citizen.
in the context of what we're talking about? How do you do the amnesty? How
How
do
you do
you
what?
how do you take the oath? How does
You
the
have to
average
go
black
to the
person?
Department of the Interior on a national level and change your nationality or change or add yourself with the nationality because you ain't changing shit. You
Okay.
just
Is this only for
acknowledging who
is
you
this
are.
only for the descendants of slaves?
Huh?
Is this only for the descendants of slaves?
Yes.
What about the illegal immigrants that come over here and
They
become?
have to be naturalized to become a citizen. They don't become a citizen until they take the oath of amnesty, which is what we were supposed to do when we came off the plantation, but
Which I,
nobody ensured that we take it. We walked off the plantation with no guidance whatsoever, and they expected us to be productive citizens in 100 years. We still struggling. We the national I don't know what they call it, but the money that black people make over a year is $17,600. White folks, I'm talking about black folks is 17.6. White folks is $171,000. You see the disparity there, and it's not like that by accident.
wait a
It's
minute,
like
wait a minute. Say that
they
again. Say
will
that again.
they willfully and forcefully neglected to give us what we really needed for us to be anybody. We never corrected our status, and that's the bottom line. When you're a slave today and tomorrow you free, you walking off with nothing, no nationality, no name, because the man could take back his name if he wanted to. But what we should have done is tracked our legacy from the
Well,
time
well,
we left Africa
well,
to the time we got freedom.
well, babe, they don't have to take back the name. In a court of law, the name don't mean nothing. You can't go and inherit nothing white folks got that got your last name.
Right.
Well, I'm
So
saying,
it's
well, I
no. I'm
keep
just
talking
saying.
about when you
I'm saying
walk
that
off
I'm
the
I'm saying
plantation,
that I'm
and y'all
saying that
talking about now.
well, whether we walked off the plantation with the last name or now, it's meaningless. The
You
la-
could have
that
gave that name back. You didn't have just because you walked off the Smith plantation. You didn't have to walk off of Smith.
Babe, I don't
Yeah,
think no who was around to tell you anything different.
but that's what I'm saying. Nobody, we knew nothing. So we not knew to take the oath that we needed to take, just like the Confederate Army, the 200,000 people from the Confederacy had to take the oath before they could be readmitted to the Union. We ain't never been admitted to the Union. Never. We still are not. I'm admitted because I took the oath. When you and you take it on an official status,
So what status do you have at the United Nations?
I have a
Can you can
dual
you can you
citizenship.
redress? Can you
I'm
go to the
telling you,
United Nations and redress any wrongs that are happening to you in America? I mean, can you do you have status at the UN?
yeah, but I ain't got nothing to do with the UN. I have status with the nation of Morocco and the nation of the U.S. of A. I have dual citizenship now.
So what status do you have with the U.S. of A?
Dual citizenship. I'm a citizen. I'm a true citizen. I ain't just a citizen. I'm a true citizen. There's a difference.
So, how,
Abraham Lincoln said that. He
okay,
said you have to do
help me understand this true citizenship. How does that differ from what we think of citizenship?
the citizenship that they're saying that we have now. I'm just using myself as I'm in the
Right?
category.
Yeah, because you're the only one that's got
The
the more
citizenship
connection.
that we think we have is them saying, okay, you're a citizen or you free, and then tomorrow you're a slave. It's almost like they're giving you this to make you think it, to
So
make you
what
believe. Like when they said you free, you see how we jump in
do you
jubilee,
carry up? Do you
do
have a
all that
pass? Do you
celebration and bullshit, huh?
did you change your passport?
Yeah,
What's your last
passport,
name?
huh?
What's your name on your passport?
Warren Smith Bay on my social security card too. You change everything.
But how is
You
that
don't.
different from so Smith Bay? Okay, I
It's
see
the
what you're
same
saying.
information. The information don't change. The name changes, and your nationality changes.
So what nationality is on your birth certificate? I mean, on your
I have dual citizenship.
Morocco and U.S.
with Morocco.
Morocco and the United States of
So you
America.
can travel to Morocco without a passport.
I still have to have a passport if I
Why?
plan to get back in the country or if I plan to get in that country. You don't go to a country without a passport.
Well, I don't need a passport to be in America.
I
Yeah,
don't need
yeah,
a
but if
pass.
you
I don't need a
leave, you better
passport to
get
go to
one or you
Mexico.
ain't coming back in here.
I don't need a passport to go to Mexico and come back.
You ain't coming back across that border without a passport.
Yeah, they changed the rules, Chuck.
They changed the rules. Well, I have never been over there anyway, so
Your ass
I'm
be
just.
left over there. You be speaking Spanish.
Brother Bay, I hear what you're saying about the Moroccan and the Moors and so I just don't understand how that.
How it works.
No, I
We
just
mean
don't under. I just don't. I don't understand how it
how
changes
it benefits
anything. Yeah.
how it benefits people, right?
Well, how it changes
How
anything.
you
What it
treated
does,
here in
it
America?
only gives you
I,
status, man, because right now you have no status. And with no status, let's say that they call martial law in Houston today.
Hmm.
Martial law will control all the black people. But when you show that you're a Moroccan citizen, you're free to go.
Well, how do you show that?
Huh? With your
How
passport.
Okay, so do you see on the news from sometime, like especially in Philadelphia and other places where you got more have gone through the process, you got
Mhm.
more enlightenment, and the cops pull them over and they say I don't have a driver's license because I'm not an American citizen.
Mhm.
Explain that scenario.
Well, the fact of the matter is you are not driving. You're not driving. Only people can be told that they are driving a vehicle or commercial vehicles. You can't find a law nowhere that tells you that you need a license to operate a motor vehicle. You can't. It'll tell you that to operate a commercial vehicle, you must have a license.
So
But
when
when you're in a car and you get pulled over and they say, well, Mr. Smith, you were driving and I'll say, officer, I wasn't driving. I'm traveling. and they can't say anything different.
Out comes the Billy Club.
You give him your
You
driver's
want him
license,
smart.
with your new name on it. You give him your driver's license with
You say,
Miss Bay on it. Then they go back and run it, and they find out that, oh, this is a dual citizen. I gotta let him go. Then
But
you
I
go,
wasn't. But how come when the cops pulled up those people over it?
because they weren't true. Those people did all the research, but they
But
never
they didn't do all the paperwork. They didn't do all the
right. You got to do a
qualifications.
lot. It's a lot. It took me a year.
So the cop would recognize your
Year,
dual citizenship.
2 weeks, every single week being in a class.
So could like if you come from Canada down here, you can drive with Canada's driver's license. What driver's license do you have?
When you come from Canada
Yeah, you can use Canada's driver's license to drive in America.
for 30 days,
No, yeah. So okay, for 30, and then you got to get a regular driver's license.
you got to get a U.S. driver's license
I hear
on the
what you.
very next day, can I go back and cross over back over into Canada, then come back in the
with a
next day,
passport. With a
start it
passport.
all over
Brother
again?
man, I hear what you're saying. What you're saying is that once we come to a realization of who we are, we'll cut out all this calling shit. African American, Negro, Black,
You're none of those.
all this shit
You are
we've
none of
we've
those.
gone through.
And how can you accept the fact that people can call you what the fuck they want to? They want to call you Negro, they can call you Negro. They want to call you African American, they can. They want to call you Black, they can.
They
And
do.
sometimes they say Black, sometimes they say African American.
But
They say
Negro
what
is taboo
they
now.
want.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can't damn call me what you want,
Colored. Yeah.
huh?
I
You
said
got to give
colored.
me. I got a status too. You call
But
me what you supposed to call.
didn't we start identifying ourselves as a different with a different identity to get away from the nigger and all that kind of work, those languages? Then we start calling ourselves black men.
Yeah,
They
we
didn't
did.
give us that name.
We
We
did
called
that.
ourselves black,
Yeah.
and we still call ourselves black. Look at the Black News Network.
But you can't just pull it out your ass, Chuck. You to call it to name yourself as a
Yeah, but
people.
Chuck, we got the Negro College, the National Negro College Fund. We still use Negro.
The
Yeah,
NAACP,
The
that needs to be
NAACP.
so,
the
yeah,
NAABP.
but we stuck with the black thing.
Huh?
That's the one thing that we are that nobody else can be.
But we're
Nobody
not
else can
black.
be black.
I can't just walk outside and declare that I'm a MF and everybody else starts saying, yeah, I'm a MF. And
What,
that becomes their nationality.
Chuck? What he's saying, what Brother Bear? Now I understand what he's saying. What all them other names have no basis. There's no basis to Negro,
Ain't tied
to
to nothing.
colored, to
That's why we walked away
to
from it.
black, to. There's no basis for none of those names.
We're black and we're proud. That was
No,
the first time we got
no,
to be proud. I
no,
wasn't proud to be a Negro or
That's
proud.
not
no.
what
Black.
somebody, you can call yourself anything.
Half of Black America in America, you call them black, they get pissed at you.
And the other half, you call them African American, they get mad at you.
They get mad at
It's
you.
crazy.
Yeah,
And don't even mention color, and don't even mention Negro.
I view African Americans as what the white man chooses to accept as black. I choose African American basically because of those people that was born here in America, maybe so to speak.
Chuck, you speaking
Also,
African American now. When you was born, what did you call yourself? When you was growing up, you wasn't no African American.
when
Let me
I was
let me
growing
give
up,
you the history on that, Chuck. Can I give
I
y'all
was
the
growing
history
up,
on
it was
these names?
Negro.
Let me give you the
Negro,
history
you
on
better
them.
get over here.
In 1924, Mr. Plecker, a white man, wrote a Racial Integrity Act. And in the Racial Integrity Act, he said that there were only two races in the United States of America. There was white and there was color. So everybody, other than white people, if you got one drop of blood, this is where this one drop of blood came in. If you got one drop of black blood in you,
You colored.
you are black or you or whatever, you're colored. So white people, before that all happened, the Indians had already got a status where they weren't paying taxes. they were getting a lot of free stuff. So white people were changing their birth certificates to be Indian so they can get that free stuff. So that's why he wrote the Racial Integrity Act in 1924 to stop all that bullshit that they were doing. So when he wrote that, he made everybody, all those white folks, from the time they gave the Indians that stuff to present, he made them come off of that name. They were no longer Indians on their birth certificate, the white people. So they had to become white again. So Mr. Plecker made all of us, I mean, every person of color, colored. And if you call yourself an Indian or black or whatever the African names are, then they would arrest you and charge you something. I don't even remember the charge, but they would charge you because you violated a U.S. Act. That's where that came from. That's how we became colored. And then we became Negro. Then, they just naming us out of their ass or something, coming up with shit. We're not that. We're not that.
Yeah.
And
But didn't
just
we,
like slaves,
but
I,
didn't we
can't- I don't.
blend?
How do you know me as a slave? What is a slave? How am I a slave? How was my ancestors a slave when they came off the plantation? Chuck,
I'm
Claude,
sorry.
help me with that. I'm
Well,
trying to learn myself. How was they?
once
How were they a
emancipation,
slave?
once
Be- be-
emancipation was
because
signed, you
because
walked off the plantation.
no, you were a slave because I
You
had
was
papers
human.
that say you was a slave. I had
But
papers on you,
but who decided?
recorded in the county courthouse, property
Who
records.
decided that? Who decided that?
The same people that made you a slave,
Man, right?
man.
Man cannot give you a nationality. Man can't do it. Only God can.
Well, I could say a lot about that comment.
Come on with it. I'm telling you, because we are who we are, but God already made us who we are, and we can't change that.
That's
I don't care how much
what
your
I've been
blood
saying
you
when I say I'm a child of God. That's all I need to know is I'm a child of
Yeah,
God.
we all are a child of God, but
Right.
in America, you need to be
We're
more
all a
than.
member of the human race. That's why we don't
All
have
right, so
racism, we have
if
culturalism.
you
It's
this
the
you
culture that
probably ain't
gave
got to
me
do
wrong.
this, Chuck, but if you had to fill out an application, maybe not you, but help somebody fill out one, and it said you're African American, so would you check that, or
It's
if
got a
it's you're
it's got a
black,
bunch of black
check that?
African American. Yeah.
Well, would you check either one based on the paperwork? What you do while you yawning and shit?
Excuse me.
Huh?
Um, I think I've seen it. I haven't filled out the application so long for where I had to answer the question of identity of race. But I think it has African American, not white. Or is that
Yeah,
Hispanic?
I
They're,
seen that.
they're do Mexicans, not white, or
That's
something like
Hispanic.
that.
It's Hispanic, non-white.
So
Hispanic,
you
non-white.
Because
you don't
Hispanics can be
you
white.
check one of those
So
Hispanics
boxes?
are white people.
they would
Yeah,
have African Americans,
they are.
non-white.
They classify as white.
Right. They
Yeah.
can be either or.
Just like the white people were trying to be Indians, the Mexicans are trying to be white.
Oh yeah,
I'm
I know
hey,
they
I
trying to
know
do
what you
whatever they can
mean.
fit in. They trying to be wherever they can fit in. Shit, there's
Yeah,
money.
they know they get better
Brother Bate,
privileges by classifying as white. So I
are
don't blame
there
them.
are there any are there any institutions of higher learning in America that teaches what you're saying? That I mean, is there any kind of scholarly work institutional wise at any of the black colleges and universities? I took black studies, but I don't remember. I,
Because nobody took
I
the
mean,
time to put this stuff together. And if it wasn't for Noble Drew Ali, we still wouldn't know because he put it all together for us from the cradle to our grave. He put it
where,
together. I can show you every document that backs up everything I said. I
No, I
mean,
don't, I don't doubt what you say. I mean,
yeah,
you've gone through the process and changing that. I'm just saying, is there any for future generations? I mean, are we going to continue to be black, Negro, colored, African American, or some other
That,
thing we come up with
that's
to
that's
the
where
end
it
of time?
if you
I
want
mean,
to
because
take,
right now,
if you want to become, I'm gonna tell you the truth. If you want to become a true citizen, you go to the Department of Interior or contact the Department of Interior and tell them you want to take the oath of amnesty. Or you can go to any military recruiting office and tell them you want to take the oath of amnesty to become a true citizen. And
Hmm.
they get you in because they do Mexicans all the time or Venezuelans, immigrants all the time that want to join the military.
mm-hmm.
So you can take that oath, and once you take that oath, you become a true citizen.
Okay, okay.
You
At a
already took
recruiting
it,
office, huh?
huh?
At a recruiting office, military recruiting office.
Yeah,
Okay, so when we took that oath to enter the
you
military, we
already
didn't
took it.
take it.
Military people already took
I'm already a citizen then, right? I'm a
it.
true
You're a true
citizen.
citizen.
If I join the
Military
military, I'm a
people,
true citizen, right?
yeah, military people are true citizens.
Oh, cool. We cool, all three of us.
But if but regular people ain't. So, and
Yeah,
that's
Why are military people true citizens?
huh?
we took the oath.
When you went into the military, you took the oath of amnesty.
I don't remember taking no oath of amnesty. I remember
I
When
taking.
don't
you were
either.
standing there with your long hair on your
I
head
didn't
and your
either.
your
And I
big
didn't know.
snow
I
runners
didn't know I
on,
had a lot of
you
stuff.
stand up there. I, Claude
Mm-hmm.
Foster,
Do
do
so.
solemnly and sincerely promise and swear that I will obey the United
Support and
States
defend.
Constitution.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, that's the
That's the
oath.
oath.
That's the oath of amnesty.
Oh,
You took it already,
Is
and
that the
that's
same? Is that the same oath that a citizen takes to become a
it's
citizen
the
of
exact
this
same
country?
thing. It doesn't change. It's the same
oh.
thing.
Hmm.
I wonder why we had to do that. If he was already a citizen.
And if you're going to protect and defend the country, you got to become a true citizen.
That
We want to become.
now that's interesting. I never put that one and one together
I didn't either till Chuck just brought it up. You know,
because
that's
we do have to take that oath.
mhm.
I do solemnly swear to support and defend.
But what about our brothers out there that ain't served in the military?
But members of Congress have to take that oath.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Because they
Supreme
represent the
Court
country.
justices have to take that oath. And if there's already citizens,
Everybody ain't taking it though. I'm talking about black people. Our people need to take the oath.
There's some white folks ain't taking it either, right?
I don't care about white folks not taking it. I
Okay.
care about my brothers and sisters taking the oath. Descendants of slaves who have never been corrected from the day they walked off that plantation. They
did,
have
did,
never became a citizen.
now did the Union soldiers, black soldiers, have to take an oath?
Yes.
So would their descendants be citizens?
Huh?
Would their descendants be citizens?
Yeah, if you can prove it.
Okay, I took the oath, so my
No, they,
Anybody that took the
all
oath
citizens.
became a true citizen.
no, I'm saying, are there descendants of those
Who took the
Union
oath.
soldiers, those black Union soldiers
Everybody
that took the oath?
thereafter becomes a true citizen, but
So,
you
so
have to be able to show it. If you can't show it, you ain't gonna glow it.
Well, if you was fighting in the Civil War and you took that oath, and that's your child,
But prove it.
well,
Prove
you
that
got
you got
birth
a
certificate. No,
legacy
you
all
said
the way
they
back
have birth
to that
certificates back in
fighting
the
in the Civil
days.
War.
well,
Huh?
you would have that. They had records back then of
But you
Union
got to
soldiers.
prove it. Just because they got the record, you got to prove it though. That's the problem.
Open Records Act. Show me my records.
That is the problem. We can't trace our ancestry back more than 100 years. How far can you go back, Chuck or Claude?
I,
I,
I went
probably no
back
further than
into. I
Huh?
probably went,
not that far. Probably
I'm
go back.
probably going back
My
as
great,
far.
probably the let's
You
see,
got a year?
probably go back 3 generations at the
What
most.
year? What year can
probably
you go back to?
part of the
Huh?
1800s,
18 what?
1870s. Because my great great uncle, who I was around growing up, was born in
Mm,
1876. So
okay,
I can go back
to
probably no far back than
1876. I can go
1870s.
back to 1893. That's far as I can go.
How about
But
you,
I
Chuck?
Yeah,
talked to a
about
Mexican a
the
few years
same. I'm
ago.
thinking
Huh? What you
around
say?
that same time, about 1890, something like that. My grandfather, my mother was born in 1916 or 1914 or something like that. And I'm saying if he was, maybe 20 years old when he fathered her at 21. And yeah, I'm going to say he probably born in the late 1890s.
Mm,
But now I got somebody my European name was in the Civil War. I know there was a slaughter that fought in the Civil War.
Your European name don't mean shit.
His name was
I didn't want to
Moses.
say that, Claude.
His name, well, that's all right.
But I mean, it's a show keeping it real.
But his
Don't.
his European name was Moses Slaughter. So we fought in the Civil War. He's still black as I. He was blacker than I am.
I don't mean to demean your. I'm just saying that our last name, in terms of our.
But if he fought in the Civil War, he took the oath of amnesty, didn't he?
Yeah.
Right. So all of his descendants after all of his offspring after that.
See, I can't go. My last name is Foster. It's Irish. I can't go to Scotland and claim shit.
Claim your family
Like he
land.
could do. Hey,
I can't. I can't go claim the seal. I can't claim shit.
excuse me, I gotta take a walk.
All
Can
right,
you?
so
Can you bank?
huh?
Can you go back anywhere? I mean, Smith
We're gonna,
is
we're gonna
European.
get ready to close, Claude. So if you got some, go ahead and talk about everything we've talked about, and end with erasers like a blackboard.
No, you know, in the context of being an American, in the context of our journey since we've been in this country, and what it means to be an American, and what it means to be a citizen, and what it means to be a person. We've explored all of that, and you've given us some kind of platform to evaluate that on, because you said this is who we really are. Because we've looked beyond just the construct of being a slave. Because we're more than just a slave. We're more than just property. We're more than the property name that we were given. It's like our name ain't nothing but like a brand. Like Panasonic. They could have named us Claude Panasonic. Because that, for all intents and purposes, that's all it's worth. It's just
Like
a
one
name.
week is Twitter, and the
Yeah.
next week is X.
Yeah, next week is X. So it has no real meaning. So I think this discussion is really important, and understanding more in understanding the more culture and the more relationship to our blackness in terms of who we are. Because most people, if you talk to most black Americans, they don't even associate Morocco with Africa because of the color of the people that are in Morocco. Real light skinned people.
Yeah, they're real light skinned.
Real light skinned, but it's part of Africa. And so this discussion is really good. I just knowing what we know and living the life that we live, there is no infrastructure to advance this. I haven't heard it on any programs. I haven't heard no discussions about this on any of the talk shows or podcasts. I think this is the only one. So in that sense, I think this discussion is good because somebody will pick up on it and broaden the discussion. So yeah, so that's what I'll say.
All right, thank you. Chuck?
Well, I know we started out talking about erase like a blackboard, and that was a good topic. We got away from it, but it was true, and it's happening today. And the perfect example of Frederick Douglass Elementary School that's just been set to close down. They done wiped it all the way from. It took Frederick Douglass off of it. They took Frederick off of it. They took Douglass off of it, and now they done closed it down. And that's been happening all over here in San Antonio. Streets that was named after our ancestors down in the Southern Homes. When they restructured it, they took all those streets out. So that erasing ourselves here in America is happening, and it's happening to the melanated people, and it's the our black people that are light complected that are more privileged than the dark complected ones. So that's why I say I don't like to let nobody identify me, because that's what America has come to understand, that African Americans are black too. So we don't discriminate against blacks. We hire African Americans, you know. So that's why people like Smokey Robinson just the other day said, I'm not African. I'm a black man in America." Tavis Smiley, black man in America. Me, black man in America. Uh, Black News Network. So we identified ourselves as being black. I don't think the white man did that to us. He might have put the nigger, the negro, and the colored, and all that stuff to play. But when James Brown came out and said, "I'm black and I'm proud," we picked it up and ran with it. And I've been considering myself black and proud ever since. I still consider myself a black, proud American who wore the uniform of this country for whatever purpose, whether to fight for freedom or fight for this or fight for that. We took that oath of amnesty you were talking about, and became, true citizens then. I'm glad I'm a true citizen now. I just found that out today, you know? So, hey, it is history dealt us this condition that we're in, but it's up to us to pull ourselves out of it. We got to take back. I say it every time, because when I heard it on Hidden Colors, politics is not how we're going to get what we want in America. We got to take back what was taken away from our ancestors if we ever going to get that that self respect, treated with dignity, and all that respect, all that. If we ever get all that back, we got to take it. And if we're not willing to fight and take it back, and I don't mean physically fight, we got to be intellectual radicals. We got to hit them where it really hurts. Hit them in their pocket. Get their money. Go after their money. Cause the systems that they use, we can participate in it. We just got to come together, and then we go in there. I call it imposing reparations on America. Therefore, if they don't want to give it to us, let's take it back. Let's invest in their blue chip stock markets and stuff like that, where the money is. Learn to let our money work for us. That's why I tell my kids, I'm a first generation wealth builder. I'm the first one that's going to leave anything back for my family to grow on. Y'all need to be paying attention. They're not paying attention. That's dangerous. Okay, so when I tell them that, like if I were to kick the can right now, they wouldn't know where to go find my DD Farm 14, my military papers, or my insurances, and all that kind of stuff. They wouldn't know where to find it. Whites don't even know where it is. They don't, because they don't get on the computer. I don't know. But anyway, I thought there was a real good discussion today. I did get off into it. I was wondering about it. The erase like a blackboard. I was saying, well, what are you talking about? But it did open up to be pretty good. A nice discussion. I always learn something. And like I say, on the behalf of those who are less fortunate, miseducated, and all that kind of stuff, I thank you for giving us a platform. That's who I speak for.
All right. All right. All right. We're at war, brothers and sisters, and we're going to have to do something about that. But first, I want to thank Mr. Clark Foster and Mr. Chuck Slaughter for being a part of the program today. And we'll be back next Sunday at 3:30. So I'm looking forward to you guys coming out and being part of what we talk about, because we really get into it when we're doing the Black News Network. And like I say, we're at war right now. We're not at war physically, we're at war mentally, because the mental things that have been done and that are being done to us is what the problem is. I mean, as long as we stay dumb and ignorant on all these facts that we are putting out every day, we ain't never gonna get nowhere. We gotta change some things in order to change some things. Otherwise, we're gonna continue to go into the next century dumb and not having a status here in America. We are a people, but we have to unite. And what is wrong with uniting under the same culture? The Supreme Court ain't on our side. The Constitution ain't on our side. The amendments ain't on our side. I mean, when you walk off the plantation and you were a slave yesterday, and when you walked off the plantation, what did you become? If you can't answer that, you're in a world of hurt. You got to fix that, because nobody took the time to tell the people coming off the plantation, look, this paper, when you walk off the plantation, take it over here so they can naturalize you as a U.S. citizen, and then you're good to go. Go on up north or go wherever you want to go. But until you do that, you're just a wandering nomad. So the people who have not been naturalized through military service or through their own initiative, you can count yourself as a nomad, because you ain't nothing else. And this black, white, African American, all that stuff is just names man gave you. The only person can name you is God. And God gave everybody a nationality. Everybody has a nationality. You can't say that we're American. Man brought us to America. We're not connected to this land. Yeah, we are. We are connected to it, but in a different way. We have our own stuff if they would get out of our way and let us have it. This is the Black News Network, the real voice of Black USA, broadcasting the news for Black people. I'm Brother Walt Smith, broadcasting from the desk of the emissary, and we will see you next Sunday. But before you go, please like us on YouTube, subscribe to us on YouTube, like us on Facebook, and if you see us on Twitter or the other stuff, please check in with the Black News Network. You can find our website at bnn.247.org. All you got to do is help us out. We got to help each other. And if I see your stuff out there, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm gonna sign it. I'm going to tweak it. I'm going to do whatever it takes. But without further ado, I want to thank you for being part of the Black News Network.